Okay, hi guys. I just wanted to talk to you briefly about our lesson today and walk you through some things. So, you're going to need the ability to take some notes and then be able to kind of stop this video and go back and forward a tad. So, just kind of keep up as we go. So, we're just going to do a quick review and then we're going to move from there. So, yesterday we looked at three commercials and we I wanted you to look at the demographic for each commercial, and that means kind of watching for hints and clues of who's being targeted based on what you see. So every single day you're bombarded with commercialism and product spin and when people are trying to give you content. The name of the game for you is what do you pay attention to and why? And more than that, when you watch things, who is that thing designed for? And why is it meant to be effective for that age group? That information is really, really valuable because that's what businesses do. It's what marketers do. It's what app and web designers do. They pay attention to how people think, how they react, what they're attracted to, even if it's not terribly a conscious thing. If it's maybe it's subconsciously they are attracted to something. And so that's part of it. So when you look at stuff, you have to think about how that appeal works. And that's part of what we do when we're doing front end design, which we're going to talk about, which is called UX and UI. What factors help target the demographic? So was it music? Was it visual? Was it trying to appeal to what's appealing to that person? So keep all of those concepts in mind. And so my third hour, you've already seen this, but first hour I did not. I just wanted to show you a commercial where spin, which is when you take content and you change the way it's reversed, that whole content idea of demographic appeal is made fun of in this commercial.
Yeah, just your typical Super Bowl car ad, right? Or a hilarious beer ad. Or whatever ad this is. Whatever. But it's a Tide ad. What? It's a Tide ad. What makes it a Tide ad? There are no stains. Look at those clean clothes. What else would this be an ad for? Diamonds? A gift that lasts for a no. Tide. It's time for a cold refreshment. No. Tide ad.
Fall into the sleep of you.
No. Tide. No. Tide ad. Extreme. No. Tide. Tide!
Meet the all-new. No, it's a Tide ad. Tide.
So, does this make every Super Bowl ad a Tide ad? I think it does. Watch and see.
And notice again how they use a hashtag here. So they're planning for a social media campaign that's launched around it's a Tide ad. You know, that concept of selling their spin, but they're also making fun of that whole process itself. And I just want you to think about how much that's a part of everyday life. So we're going to talk about how this applies to the web. We're going to take a look at how demographic data and spinning it to any kind of design for websites is called user experience, UX, or user interface, UI. And in the tech world, those are industries where we hire people just to create an appeal or a design. It can be with products, like why does an apple look like an apple? Why is it, there's an appeal there. That's a design thing. User interface is if I've got, oh my gosh, the newest Snapchat interface. A lot of people don't like it, but that was actually a user interface, a UI decision to change how it looks and how you use it. It's supposed to simplify or enrich the user experience, but we are creatures of habit as well. Leave something too long, it stagnates. Change it often enough, and you get people who don't want to use it anymore as well. So there's kind of a fine-edged sword there. It can be referred to as what I call front door designing, which is how you look at the way things are used. And so there are just people that are hired for UX UI work. And you have to think about design or your web application, how it appeals to the demographic. Do people like it? Do they not? And why? Why did you make that choice to change Snapchat and the way it looks? There should be a clear reason. And the problem is, if it hampers your user, it's a poor decision. So you have to try to make decisions that are going to make people who are going to find engaging or happy about that.
What is UX and what is UI? UX stands for User Experience, also referred to as User Experience Design. It's the overarching design of a system that affects whether a user of that system has a good or bad experience. For example, when you visit a retail establishment, everything you see, smell, touch, and hear while you're there is all part of the user experience design. User experience crosses nearly every field, from retail to architecture to what most people today think of when they hear UX, the internet and applications. UI, which is often confused with UX, stands for User Interface. It's also called User Interface Design. It's a more specific reference than UX. It means the interface, such as in software on your phone or the physical buttons you press to unlock a touchcode door. It's important to note that often UX and UI are interchanged or often used together to mean anything from the design and placement of buttons on an elevator to wayfinding designs in train stations and airports. In this course, we're focused primarily on UI, but not at the exclusion of UX. That is to say, our instructional materials will have a solid user interface to support our overall user experience. For the sake of consistency, we will simply refer to UX and UI as the more commonly used term UX. So how does UX relate to instructional systems design? Instructional designers make a great effort to understand the target audience of learners, and that audience often varies greatly or is vague or unknown. That can make it difficult to focus a course based on any particular subgroup of learners. However, no matter who the learner is, one thing is constant: a well-designed experience that makes it inviting to learn is universally beneficial. Instructional designers are responsible for designing the entire learning experience, which includes the user experience. Bad UX can distract the learner, make a course unnecessarily confusing, and hinder learning. For example, it should not require any extra effort on the part of a learner to figure out what that tiny icon on the bottom right of some of the pages indicates. A good UX design should go nearly unnoticed. As an instructional designer, it's especially important to use good design practices so that learners do not have to make any extra effort to understand the UX, and instead they can focus on learning.
So think of the word learner for user. I mean, basically, whatever is designed is meant to be logical for the user, so much so that they don't even notice it, so much so that it's easy. So for example, the age or demographic of your person can be really highly important to that because of the way they see, the way they look, all of that. Terms you need to know. First term, hypertext markup language, HTML. That's the basic building blocks of web pages, and it was pretty much the conceptual beginning by Tim Berners-Lee. It's how the internet talks to each other. It's how web pages are actually created. So let me show you what that is. So when you have a browser, and I think you remember this from our first unit, the browser takes HTML, which is code, and makes it visual. So we see this. This is because our browser actually sees this. And I don't know if you remember how to get to that, but if you go to under your browser and you go to View, and you go to Developer, and you go to Source, you can see the actual backdrop, the HTML of any web page. And it looks like that. So it's going to have commands that when a browser sees it, turns it into this, okay? And that's the first beginning of understanding a web page, is that web pages are built with HTML. And that's what we're actually going to work with. So HTML is made up of something called code, and that's actually a rule for converting a piece of information, a letter, a word, or a phrase or gesture. And code stands for, represents something else. I mean, that's what it is. Code can also come in different languages. HTML is a type of coding language. Other types of coding languages, for example, Python, that's something we're learning about right now in the secondary level. Java, you've probably heard of that code. Ruby on Rails, all of those, Swift, I mean, those are all code, those are code languages. But we're going to take a look at HTML because that's web building, the web building language. Terms you need to be familiar with before you build. Something called FTP, and FTP is how you move any kind of file from place to place, from one host to another, and it's based on a network. So if I build a website on my computer, can I put it on a web server that exists in Boston? Well, yes, you can. You can use a tool that's called a protocol tool that's called FTP. A server. Anytime you build a web page, you have to place it on a server, and that's just a computer system that's set up to broadcast information. It's just changed, and you can actually put stuff on it and then share that information. A favicon is a little tiny visual representation that becomes a part of the website, or is often showed or embedded in the tab of the site to represent a company. And it's known as a favicon. You can actually build those into your websites. A banner. A banner, also known as a web banner, is where you create a graphic image, or it could be a video, or it can be a lot of things, but it's a consistent representation of a brand, of what you want to know for especially a website. It holds that website together, usually with consistency, and that's what a banner is. It's a visual attraction. A navigation bar. A navigation bar is how you move from within a website. So it's how you get there and how you move from place to place within that actual site. Keywords. Well, see, anytime you put something on a server, you can't really see it until we make the web find it and embed it in links. So for us to do that, we have to have keywords associated with that each page. Those keywords help create what's called SEO, search engine optimization. So for example, if I want people to find Vision Tech, I would want the name of us, where we're located, keywords like technology. I would associate it with Smoky Valley High School, Lynchburg, Kansas. I mean, all of those words that when people look up those keywords, our website could be mapped and brought to them via a search engine. When people talk about SEO, they're talking about how to improve how their website is found by other people when they're searching. Control Management Systems, or CMS. Those are actually websites or sites that would write the code for you. We are going to build a CMS website later. It's what your portfolio is going to be built in. And they're great because you don't have to know a lot about code to build them. They're kind of but you lose control of some things. We're actually going to use a Adobe software called Dreamweaver, and I'm going to install that on your computer. Here's what I want you to see, and I mean, I'm showing you an old version of it, but Dreamweaver is going to allow you to create files in HTML. And we also have other languages like ColdFusion and PHP and JavaScript that you can create stuff in as well, but we're going to actually build stuff in HTML. And I want you to look at the right, because when you control the style of content within a web page, it's called creating CSS or style sheets. which is an acronym for Cascading Style Sheets. And it's when you set up how you want things to look, and that setup is applied to your entire website. So we're going to stop there, and we're going to take a look at some actual web pages. So let's look at this page right here. This is our Nike page that I was showing you. This is the actual code, the HTML behind that website. Okay. So when I look at this as a web builder, I see several things. The first thing I want you to see, and I'm going to apply those terms we talked about, is let's look at this tab up here. That little picture of the Nike Just Do It, that little picture is the favicon. It's the symbol for Nike that is actually built in so that when you see this tab, you know that you're on the Nike website. Anybody who uses that favicon or this symbol can be fined, because that's illegal, because this belongs exclusively to Nike. Hang on. Sorry about that. So that's kind of part of the web building stuff. So notice that along here is the navigation bar. That's how I move between pages within the site. And when I click on that, it's going to take me to that section or that aspect of the site. And I'm going to go back here to home site, to the home page. Okay, this right here is the banner. That's the thing they want you to see that's connected. And if you notice, there's a different banner for each and every site that they have that of their appeal. Okay, the navigation bar moves me between content. Right? This is the banner. This is the navigation bar. This is a favicon, right? You kind of start to see how that's built. Now this is logical, but you might not think of it as this. Web pages usually put banners on the top. Why? Because they want you to see things as your eyes would. And you know, when you're learning to read, you're trained by your reading teacher to start at the top of the page, then look left and move right. Top, left, right, and going from there. And that's the way web designers work as well. They know that you should start at the top, go then left and right. All right? Here's what's kind of cool. So when I'm looking at this is the code, the HTML behind the page. You can start to see the beginning of how that page is put together. Because if you notice, some of that stuff is going to be familiar. So we see how the page is located. We see the size of the banner. We can actually look at some of the language that sets up that banner. You can even further on down see live links, how it's actually held together, how video, see there's actually video and pictures that are there. You can see how all of that is built. And the amazing thing is that this code is not hidden. It's not meant to be hidden. People use code concepts all the time. Let's look at another website. So here's Amazon, and most of you are familiar with that. Again, this top part is part of the banner, and this is part of the banner. Notice it's got a visual that it's clear, and the amazing thing, that visual will change. Here's our navigation bar within that site. And notice how things that they want you to notice, how they change the font size. This is called a drop-down menu, when you actually can pull content and drop down, and how it automatically tries to find your location. Yeah, it tries to do that for you automatically. So here's our high school website. And so let's look at that one for how things are built. Again, here is our banner. And notice that this banner you can see on every single page within our website. So if we go to the high school, it's there. If I go back, let me just pull another school. Let's pull Smoky Valley. Let's go Soderstrom. So if I click on that, notice again, banner, same. The page itself will change, but your banner is going to stay the same. And that's what a banner tends to do. It holds together a web page, right? Notice also you've got a navigation bar across the top. Sometimes navigation bars are here, sometimes they're in the middle. I mean, it just depends. Notice also that any other new content we might stack along the left because our eyes move from top to bottom, left to right. And we want main information to be focused like that, right? Almost always, any contact information is placed on the outside. So let me go here real quick, view developer source. And here's actually what our website looks like in the backside, like the HTML part. And you can actually see, if you notice, you see a lot of division. Here's actually, we see the logo for Smoky Valley. It's actually an image that's stored within the actual web, the writing of the HTML. And I don't expect you to know, to look at this and go, oh, that makes total sense yet. But I want you to know that what you're building will have this stuff behind it. That's the way it's built, okay? So we'll actually go look at VisionTech. So you notice we've got a smaller contact stuff, but yeah. But all of that, all of our stuff is pretty consistent, the way it looks and what's behind it, okay? So really some really kind of cool stuff in that. Web pages all work the same, okay? So let's actually get you an assignment of something I want you to cover as the beginning of our web page. So I need you to go to, where do I want you to go? Let's go to interactive media, to your web page, okay? Notice this, ooh, lightning speed there. This is our week. This is our February 26th week. And this is the stuff we're working on. So yesterday we did our demographics. Tomorrow we're going to install Dreamweaver, since I'm not here today. And we're going to actually start lessons. So I have created all the lessons we're going to do, and we're going to start this together. But I want you to watch lesson 1 and be prepared for that content. We'll have just a little assessment tomorrow when I see you on Wednesday about how you actually paid attention to that. Lesson 1 is called Understanding Servers and What a Web Page Will Look Like. And if you understand this, you will understand why a URL looks the way it does. Why does it say HTTPS //www.nike.com /US /ing_US /C/M? Why does it say that? Because if you know about web building, this tells me exactly what their server looks like. And that's the beginning of understanding web building. For you guys, it will be the beginning that starts here. So watch this video. You get to listen to me give a lecture in class, and we will be back to kind of beginning building on Wednesday. Have a good day.